Hello, my name is Sylvia Bly, and this is my presentation of my collection of architectural documents at Wayne State University. The history of the collection was a little difficult to pin down. Wayne State University is an urban university that evolved from the Detroit Medical College established in 1868 to Wayne University in 1934 and finally to Wayne State University in 1952. Originally, the various colleges were housed in existing Victorian homes in the immediate area, with the former Detroit Central High School, now called Old Main, being the main building for the new university. In 1942, the first block of real estate was purchased for the campus, followed by a building boom at the end of World War II, with buildings such as State Hall, 1948, Science Hall, 1949, and the Engineering Building, 1950, added. Over the following years, additional property and buildings were added to the university to what you see today. Two major construction projects are currently underway, with the Mike Ilitch School of Business and the Anthony Wayne Drive apartment complex both slated to open later this year. Legionnaire's disease notwithstanding. All this construction produced architectural drawings. They were stored in numerous locations around campus following the Architectural Planning Department of Wayne State. Today, the department is now called the Facilities Planning and Management Department, Design and Construction Services, and the collection is kept on the second floor of the University Services Building, located at 5454 Cass Avenue. This building was constructed in 1930 by Albert Kahn, a very prolific architect at the time, for the Miller Jug Company, a distributor of Nash automobiles. There is the main print room with hanging stick files that line the wall, covering all 115 buildings plus the extension centers. When I first arrived 5 years ago, this is what I was presented with. There was a flood about 10 to 15 years ago that necessitated the removal of the boxes upstairs to a storage room. However, that is where they stayed due to lack of personnel. My first task was to learn everything I could about architectural drawings and how they are stored due to their size. I began by sorting out the material that they are made from and at the same time look for mold and other damage. The material used in this collection is primarily paper and plastic, with some variations in between. Paper has been used for architectural creation since it was invented in China around 100 BC. Paper as support for architectural drawing has undergone a lot of changes over the years and now comes in a vast variety of material types to choose from. Drafting cloth and tracing cloth, collectively known today as linen, was used from the 1860s to the mid-1960s. It is a very smooth, translucent, heavily sized woven cloth. It is a very durable support and it lasts well. Vellum was used from the mid-1920s to the present day. Although the original material was calfskin, it is no longer utilized as a material for architectural drawing support. It is made from a combination of wood pulp and cotton. Drafting film began to be used around 1950 to the present. It is also known as mylar and various other polyester type films. Depending upon the material used, it can degrade rapidly or last several centuries. Computer-aided drafting or design came into use in the 1960s and is now the most commonly used computer application in the United States for drafting purposes. According to Lowe and Nelb, by 2002, more than 83% of architectural firms in the United States sent at least some CAD drawings to consultants, clients, or contractors digitally via the internet to generate drawings. It is purely a digitally born process in that the drawings are created completely in the computer environment. It has now become a necessary addition to today's design firms. In addition to working with the original drawings, The majority of the other drawings in this collection are called reproducibles or copies. The reason is that the university is an urban university built from previously owned buildings. The original drawings rarely came with the building. They are also made of paper, but the surface was treated with chemicals to allow the image to be transferred. Due to this treatment, much of the paper is sensitive to light sources. Blueprints have now become a generic term for an example of photoreproductive architectural drawing, but it is also describing the process that utilizes a chemical procedure involving photosensitive iron salts that produce a copy of a drawing that has white lines on a deep blue background. This process was used until the 1980s. Photostats is another process that utilizes photosensitive silver salts to create a negative image of white lines on a black background. The collection has very few of these drawings. Diazo is quite the same as the blueprinting process, utilizing photosensitive diazonium salts to create prints of, but the lines come in a variety of colors like black, blue, magenta, all on a white background rather than blue. Digital formats are the result of printing from the CAD files or any other type of electronic file created in this manner. There are many more different types of supports that architectural drawings can be rendered on or copied. Each of these supports has their pros and cons involving preservation. Now we have to deal with the damage. Fortunately, in this instance, the only damage I need to concern myself with is water and or mold. Water is possibly the most common type of disaster. Depending on how the drawings are created will depend on the salvage procedure because some material is more resilient to water than others. Luckily, the prints that were damaged were copies of the plastic originals that could be reproduced. I did not have any issues with mold, and there probably was quite a bit of mold that became airborne when we started going through the material that was salvaged. We did utilize dust masks in order to minimize the inhalants, but hopefully there was very little, if at all, that we had to deal with. So how am I dealing with this problem from this day forward? Appraisal was my first step in trying to figure out what I had. Although the boxes have been gone through, this was a rough process involving the entire department, so it still is not properly inventoried as of yet, but I am working on it. I have also purchased the Linico pH level pen that our instructor kindly introduced us to. This will allow me to know which drawings are more sensitive than others, and the same with plastics. I have discovered that some may be quite flammable and may have to be transferred in the future. And of course, the adhesive issue is another challenge. What was done before may not be repairable, but I now know what not to do in the future. But the current concern will be for proper storage. Upstairs in a shop area is not it, and proper climate control, which hopefully will get better later on this year. Thank you. Any questions?